Hey everyone, it's Shoulder One. You're listening to another great pod by the Cleveland Sports Collective.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Cleveland Sports Collective podcast. I'm Tom Moore, and I'm once again joined by my co-host, Josh Brickner. The Cleveland Browns took down the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday to run their record to 7-3 and stay firmly in the race for a playoff spot in the AFC. They did it without Myles Garrett, but the defense still harassed Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz with 5 sacks and 2 interceptions. On offense, the Browns did what they do best, which is run the ball, and that finally paid off for them big time in the fourth quarter. We have a lot to get to, both from the Eagles game and the injury situation and the aftermath of the game. So let's get her done. How's it going, Josh?
Oh, it's going good. Once again, another recap, talking about a victory. That's how we want to be. So let's get to it.
Okay. Wasn't sure if we were going to pull this one off or not after our Ohio State discussion today.
Yeah, let's just give a little background. Learned today that my co-host is a little bit of a Buckeye hater. So for all you fellow Buckeyes, Tom's a great guy, but I'm about to hold it against him. So, I mean, he talked about Buckeyes being overrated in the NFL. So he must like watching the Steelers draft Ohio State players and win Super Bowls. So
I think anyone who follows me on Twitter, that will not be a surprise.
It's okay. Hey, this is America. We can have differences of opinion, as you know. We just had an election a couple weeks ago, so hey, my brother-in-law is an OSU hater as well. So there's room for everyone here in this great state of ours. So.
All right, so we'll start off with a few of the negatives. I'll let you take the Sendejo discussion on this one.
Yeah, it's. Obviously, on that last touchdown, Sendejo bit up and left Goddard in the back of the end zone. And he played a little better. I know he had that unnecessary roughness penalty, I believe.
Yeah, that was stupid.
He just hit the guy for no reason. So, I loved it. I guess he made a few plays. I don't know on the Richard Rodgers touchdown if he was his guy. He might have been on the other side of the field, so I'm not sure if we can blame him for Richard Rodgers standing in the corner of the end zone wide open. But that was the one that they floated it over Mac, right? Correct. So it was most likely Mac's deficiency.
See, that was the one thing, and I was going to toss it out during the game on Twitter, and I didn't. When you watch the replay, it kind of looked like Mac kept on going back, and then he stopped. So it was almost kind of like, okay, my zone responsibility is done. I got help over the back, and it was Redwine who came up to the play late. So everybody was kind of like, well, you floated over Mac. It's like, oh, there's another crappy coverage by Mac Wilson in pass coverage. But is it him? Is it Redwine? Was that an indication of why Redwine never plays? Unless he has to. So that's the one thing where, somebody with maybe a little bit deeper, insight into that might be able to answer that question a little bit better. But that was one play that stood out. It was kind of like, yeah, we know the linebackers are not good in coverage, so it's easy to point a finger. But I wonder if where that finger, should have been pointed in that one. But it was ugly, no matter whose fault it was. It was not good.
It was a busted coverage, like speaking of the Buckeyes, like we saw in the second half of the Ohio State game. But as far as PFF grades for the safeties, I found this interesting. Redwine had a 28.2, and Sendejo actually had a 54.7. So look, we give Sendejo a hard time on this podcast all the time. I am the biggest offender, I will say that, and he makes his fair share of mistakes, but he didn't have a great game. Obviously, the penalty, the garbage time touchdown, where he bites too easy. But he's going to play. So I guess there's really nothing we can do. I'll just keep talking about it every year, and until he makes, I don't know, we need to have some kind of agreement that he has to make some kind of play that will change the name of the Sendejo list. So I don't know what he has to do, but I haven't seen it yet. So the name stands as far as I'm concerned.
And the other bad part, and we'll get to it, later on here, is guys keep on going down to the secondary, but he seems to avoid it week after week. Yep. And I do fear for him in a couple of weeks when they play the Titans. I'm
Yeah.
legitimately concerned about him going up and trying to meet Derrick Henry on a run.
Yeah, let's I don't know how long Ronnie Harrison's supposed to be out, but let's hope that he comes back sooner than later, because yeah, I'm not excited to see Anderson Dejo in that game. That's going to be a tough one for us. Which we'll get to later. That's going to be tough.
Yeah. So then that brings us to Baker Mayfield. I don't know that he necessarily had a bad game, but
Right.
the plays that did not look well were on those two passes into the end zone, the one to Hooper and the one to Bryant, that just, were off the mark. And that sort of highlights, I think, kind of going back a little bit to that touchdown pass we were just talking about on the Eagles. When it involves a potential scoring play, it kind of makes everything a little bit more magnified.
Right.
So, but he had that deep ball to Higgins. He had a nice, long completion to Hodge. So I don't know. It's so hard to know sometimes, with Mayfield,
Yeah.
do you take the good with the bad? Yes, he should have made those, but he didn't. And I don't, it's, we're 10 weeks into it, and I'm, I keep hanging my hat on, and I think, they're 7-3. They're getting it done.
Yeah, I think you got to give Stefanski a lot of credit, because he's putting him in the position to succeed and not asking him to do. What was it? Bill Lant? Was it Pazant? Somebody I read at some recap of the game last few days where they said Carson Wentz was asked to throw 35 times in the slogging rain. When, let's be honest, the Eagles had some success run the ball on us early, and when they did a few, they had some success, but they're having, Wentz tossed the ball over the yard in a driving rainstorm, where Baker was just asked to make the plays, and he made some of them he didn't. So I really love what Stefanski's doing, kind of putting him, like I said, in the best position. I want to say that, yeah, those two missed throws were bad, because obviously we didn't punch it in. That's a whole other issue. I think that also happened against Cincinnati, where we missed 4 times in a row from inside the 3-yard line. But I think the bigger issue is his fumbles. And I know only one was a takeaway, but the one, he really got bailed out there by the referees, because right before that Hunt touchdown run, if they don't blow the play dead there, it's a fumble. He turns the ball over right there, and that could have changed the game. So when he doesn't turn the ball over, I probably would have, we talked about those 2 throws and said, oh, it is what it is. But I think when he turns it over, and that's, and especially there, it would have changed the whole game. He didn't throw any interceptions, great, but he's got to hold on to the football. So,
and I guess one thing that to say in his favor is, even when he does make mistakes, it doesn't seem to spiral into yes, I missed this throw, I want this throw back, let's move on to the next one, and let's kind of let's just keep let's keep working at it. And it would have been nice to connect on those. It would have been, the game would have been, the game wasn't really close up until and even at the end, it wasn't that close. They got a garbage time touchdown, but, a little bit more gap in the score would have been nice, and just a little more consistency. But, you just don't know how much the weather impacted. It's so, these last 3 games have been so strange and so hard to kind of figure out, weather-wise. And for the most part, it's played into the Browns' strengths, which has been nice.
Absolutely. It's, we're 2-1 in those games, and, we haven't scored a lot of points. So it's great to, and the last 2 games, it's been the defense and running game carrying the day. And when you're playing in a driving rainstorm and cold temperatures, and the 2 games before that, a driving wind, that's how you're going to win the game. So, I can't, we have 2 games in the Meadowlands. Who knows what kind of weather Jacksonville's going to have. It's either going to be nice and hot, or it's going to be rainy and stormy. And then we're in New York twice. We're home against the Ravens and Steelers, and then Tennessee. So I can't imagine we're going to have any more 50 and sunny days here on the horizon. So this is, we got to deal with the weather, and that's just how it is. So glad we went 2-3 in those games. Again, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, and we have to apologize. We'll apologize in advance to the city of Jacksonville for whatever horrible weather is coming this Sunday. It's
it follows us.
It's us. It's not you.
It is. Yes, it's coming. I
don't know what it's going to be, but prepare yourself for it.
Yes, correct.
All right, so we're going to move on. It's another victory edition. So we're going to move on to the really good stuff here.
Absolutely.
Olivier Vernon, huge game, 3 sacks, had the sack on the safety. Him, stepping up in Garrett's absence. and really the whole defensive line. They, I know the Eagles aren't very good on the offensive line, but if the Browns had not taken advantage of that, everybody would be complaining. So the fact that they did take advantage of it deserves a lot of praise.
Absolutely. I mean, Olivier Vernon, 3 sacks, the safety. I think Claiborne had 2 sacks. You saw guys like Malvo get in there, Jordan Elliott. I mean, it was a team, it was a group effort. And it's great that they can play that way with Myles Garrett out when we were all very concerned when we heard that on Thursday that he was going to be and we hope he's on the, we hope he's safe and healthy right now. And I know he's going to miss Sunday's game we'll get to later, but hope he's coming around. But yeah, you would have loved to see what Myles could have done against that line. But the defensive line kind of anchored. This is when the defense is at its best, when we're getting pressure on the quarterback, and Wentz really couldn't feel comfortable all game. So that's a credit to all those guys, especially Olivier Vernon. His best game as a Brown. His best game in Cleveland without a doubt.
And one thing that wasn't a surprise was the play of Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Another solid day, especially in the fourth quarter. And the one thing I really liked, and I think I saw it in the Plain Deer, they touched on it. Things weren't going well in the first quarter. They weren't going well in the second quarter. They weren't going well in the third quarter, but they kept on pounding away at it, and they kept on setting it up where, okay, we're checking out what's going on here. This might not have worked in the first quarter, but we know it's going to work later on. And again, Stefanski and Stefanski, Van Pelt, whoever's putting the offensive game plan together, they deserve a lot of credit because they're not giving up, and they're just, and eventually it's going to happen. And it did on Sunday. You knew it was coming, and eventually Chubb got that big 50-plus yard run in the fourth quarter, followed up with Hunt scoring, and that just totally broke the game open. And that was really great to see.
Absolutely. And the fact that, and I was thinking about the whole game, that was like, we're not run the ball well, not run the ball particularly well, but we're keep doing it. And with a guy like Chubb and even Hunt, but especially Chubb, all he's going to get that one run. I feel like it just wears it. Just, I mean, how many times as Browns fans have we been on the other end of a run like that? Adrian Peterson doing that to, I believe, Eric Wright in 2009 or yeah. And I mean, just the stiff arm that Chubb had, it's so demoralizing to a defense to just have a guy just run down your throat like that. So it's something, and let's be honest, the Eagles, pretty good defensive line, but we just got to stick to that run game and do what we do best, especially when on this Sunday when we're going up against a much weaker opponent that we should be able to run all over. So like I said, knock on wood, but we're sticking to the game plan. We knock on wood again. It looks like we have competent coaching for once, and I like what I'm seeing from the offense and offensive staff.
And in combination with the running game, we wanted to highlight the offensive line here a bit. Conklin being able to get back on the field was good. It's kind of a little bit of a mixed bag. Wills had a really kind of a poor game, which was not, obviously not good to see. Hopefully he's going to bounce back from that. The one Baker fumble that was a fumble, Teller just got destroyed and got blown right back into him. Cox made the strip on the fumble there. Those kind of things happen. But I think, again, when all five guys are out there together and they just keep pounding away at it, eventually they're going to break that defense. And we saw that again on Sunday. I think we're getting a little repetitive here, but what the
we
heck?
are, but that's, hey,
we're talking about wins. This is how they play.
We're talking about wins instead of God knows what we would have talked about. Thank God we weren't doing this last year. We're going to talk about firing Freddie already. But it's in the really on that. I believe I watched a slow-mo of Kareem Hunt's run, and it was Teller was blocking 3 guys at once on that play. I mean, obviously they all had their moments but you're right, when they keep plugging away and they came together, it's a great thing to watch, and that's the strength of this team. And teams are gonna obviously we've had issues when teams have made us throw the ball and they've taken that away, but you just gotta stick to the game plan, and 7 out of 10 times it's worked. So that's I'll talk about it every week. You're right, this wasn't the best game of the offensive line, but it was a damn good one. So
and just before I forget to wanted to add a little quick shout out to Higgins and Hodge.
Yes.
They stepped up, combined 6 catches, almost 140 yards between the two of them. If you're going to get that out of them every week, it's nice to see a different guy step up. It's also nice to see those 2 guys come out. And if you count that as one position, 6 catches, almost 140 yards, you're doing something right on that end.
Yeah, they're making the plays when they need to. And I know that was Landry's playing with cracked ribs, isn't he? I'm thinking he's a little more hurt because there's some times where he's not on the field. Because you think if he's 100% healthy, he's going to be on the field for all the snaps. He's maybe am I just crazy or am I looking at the snap? I feel like it's important those guys step up because he's not 100%. So it's good to see Hodge and Higgins really kind of, with Beckham being down and Landry having the cracked ribs to really step up and just and just make the plays we need to. We don't need them to get 10 targets a game. We just need them to make the plays on third down or with when they're open for a play action down the field on first or second down, and that's what we need. They've been making the plays. That's all you can ask for.
Yeah, because I was just looking at Hodge led all the receivers with 48 plays. Higgins had 40, then Landry had 38. Still had two catches, 23 yards on both. He caught both passes that were targeted to him. So,
and I think they were
this
first
was a
downs
day.
too. Yeah, I think they were both first downs. Yeah.
Yeah, and he had that end around. I would have been, much more comfortable. I would have been really cool with him not pitching the ball back to Chubb.
Yes,
on that one, but
yeah.
The end around was fun. That part was not so much fun. So let's kind of put that one back in the, put that one back in the closet for now.
Right. Yeah, because I saw, we got it. And he made a really nice play because the guy had him, he was able to juke a defender and get the first down there on third down. But yeah, so actually all of his touches, I think, for if you're Landry led to first down. So that's good to see on third down. So yeah, I mean, you're right. And any other time he's going to lead your receivers. So obviously he's not, and they've said as much that he has cracked ribs. So that's the fact. Hodge and Higgins just have to keep stepping up and make the plays we need to. Obviously, without Beckham and Landry at 100%, it really brings down the overall, I guess, the pizzazz or prestige or ranking of our receiving core. But if those two are going to combine for 6 catches for almost 140 yards, I'll take that every day.
So, turning back to the defense, we talked a little about the defensive line, but it was nice to see that the opportunistic defense was back on Sunday. They had the 2 interceptions. The big one was the Taki interception that he returned for a touchdown. The part that really, stood out, I think, on that one was Denzel Ward coming in and actually making the play.
Yes.
He recognized that his man was supposed to block, was going to block and not go out. So he decided on his own, or, what he was coached to do is he took off after Wentz. And I think it was interesting that, here's a 190-pound defensive back, hitting a guy who outweighs him, a quarterback who outweighs him by almost 50 pounds, hard enough to impact this throw that went up there, as a lob. And Taki was in the right place to bring it back for a touchdown.
Absolutely. Those Buckeye defensive backs know how to play in the NFL. I love Denzel Ward. I know we'll get to it here soon. It's going to kill the defense that he's out for several weeks. And that was actually a huge play that he made there, because if Wentz has a minute or two to look, I believe was it Jalen Reagor or another receiver was running almost wide open down the field. So glad Carson Wentz didn't see it because he had Denzel Ward in his face, and he set up his teammate Taki to make the play, and he made it. So it's good to see the linebackers the last 2 games kind of bounce back, especially after they had probably the worst game that we've seen from them against Vegas. So good to see him bouncing back and getting the turnovers. Also, that I think a really key point of the game was when they got the Sanders fumble in the first quarter, because the Eagles pretty much drove down the field there at will. So I think that was huge that we got the ball back there and were able to drive it down the field ourselves. And then Ward's interception at the end of the game, it just, all you can do is be in position to make the plays. And credit, I'll happily eat crow with the defense every week, because it was me 2 weeks ago that was yelling about them not making a deal and how terrible the defense was. So again, props to Joe Woods, props to the defense, and I'll happily eat a big plate of crow every week if we're talking about a win here.
And it helps when you're playing Carson Wentz, because he is not good. One thing that I missed on Sunday, I was thinking, in the old days, it seemed like they would always show the owner's box during games. And I noticed they haven't been doing that as much this year. And I don't know if that's related to what's going on, or that's, an editorial decision on the TV side. But if they could have had a camera on Paul DePodesta on Sunday, he was the guy you would have wanted to have mic'd up and have a camera on him while watching Wentz flounder around out there.
Yes, I believe I owe him an apology because a couple years ago I was very upset that he would go and say Carson Wentz wasn't a franchise quarterback when he was about to win the MVP. So my apologies to Mr. Paul DePodesta. Seems like you made the right call, sir. Except that we got a sack of magic beans for him back, but that's okay. We won't go into that. But yes, Paul DePodesta was right. I was wrong. I was a big Carson Wentz fan. Back then and a few years ago. So, that's all I can really say. But I will admit I was wrong here on the air. So,
Good time, and the nerds always win.
yeah. Hey, I'm not against the analytics. I just, was a little upset that we picked Corey Coleman then, but we won't go. That's a whole other issue. So, I'm
big into 80s movies, and that's what that was one of the things that the 80s taught me.
Yeah, that's true. The nerds do always win. Weird Science, Revenge of the Nerds. Yeah, that's what happens.
All right, so let's put Philadelphia behind us and kind of start dealing with the reality of the next couple of weeks. Kevin Stefanski came out yesterday and let everyone know that Myles Garrett is going to be out again this week against Jacksonville. He said it's just part of the normal protocol. It's just, life in 2020. Hopefully, Garrett makes it back, and this is the only game he's going to miss. Unfortunately, the news came out today, if you haven't heard, Denzel Ward is going to be out several weeks with a calf injury. It sounds like it's very similar to the calf injury that right guard Wyatt Teller suffered against the Colts. They kept him out for, most of the Colt game, the next 3 games. So it's looking like we're not going to see Ward until at the earliest the Giants game on December 20th, maybe not till the Jets game on the 27th. Also, I don't think there was any new news today about it, but Ronnie Harrison went down early on Sunday after getting hit in the knee. He had an MRI on Monday. They said it was a knee contusion. He's day to day. They're hopeful he's going to be able to play on Sunday, but that secondary is getting pretty thin here.
Yeah, it's going to keep being next man up, and you would hope, knock on wood, that against a guy like Jake Luton and the Jaguars or Mike Glennon, that we could it won't be as big of a concern. I know they played. They didn't really play the Steelers tough, but I know they played Green Bay tough a couple weeks ago. So, any team in the NFL on a given Sunday can beat you, but it's, and then we're going into Tennessee. So it just going to have to be next man up, and hopefully we can find some gems on the waiver wire, or we have some practice squad guys ready to go. Cause it's, that's just the reality of 2020. It's the reality of the NFL. You have to, there's going to be injuries, especially this year. And unfortunately we're missing our 2 best players. So just have to keep moving forward and find ways to win. I wish there's more we could say on it, but that's what it is.
I know. So I was looking through the schedule. So Sunday, Jacksonville.
Yep.
No Garrett, no Ward. That should not be a problem.
Should not. Yeah.
Big should. What are they? 1-9?
Yeah. 1-9. They beat the Colts in the first week and haven't won since.
So there's no, and I know the Jacksonville series has always been a strange one for the Browns. They haven't played well down there. For the most part, they haven't won in Jacksonville since 2008. It's a strange series, but this is one that even without Garrett and Ward, they should definitely be able to win that one.
Absolutely. Well, and you're talking about strange. I don't believe what they even said it during the broadcast on Sunday. We hadn't beaten the Eagles since, was it 94, 93? Mm-hmm. Yeah, 94. So, this is the year to end those streaks. So.
Week after that, Titans on the road. That game was always going to be a problem.
Yes.
Primarily because of Derrick Henry. If Garrett's not back by then, that would really hurt. I don't know. What do you think? If there's, obviously Ward's not going to be there. That's not ideal. Is that going to be as big of an issue against the Titans?
I think so. AJ Brown is one, second-year receiver. We don't remember I think he won a 75-yard touchdown last year against us. One of the best up-and-coming young receivers in the NFL. Size and speed. I think it's going to be a big problem. Yes. They have AJ Brown, Jonas Smith at tight end. Corey Davis is actually having a better year. I mean, Ryan Tannehill's kind of had a career resurgence. Yeah, I worry a lot about that game. It's one I know we're going to go play our hardest, but boy, that's going to be a tough one to pull out the way things are looking now. But it's going to be hard. That's going to be one of those games where the offense going to have to put up points, because I don't think we're holding the team to this 17 or 7 points that game. So that's going to have to be a game where the offense puts some points on the board.
Okay. Week after that, Ravens at home, Monday Night Football.
That's a big one.
I don't care who is on the field, who's not on the field. The Browns have to win that game. They literally, I mean, they just have to.
Yep. I'm
going to contradict myself here in a minute, but it's a game that they have to find a way to win.
Yes. I mean, you're right. It could well determine who gets that last playoff spot and who doesn't. I mean, the Ravens they look worse than the team we played, let's be honest, 9-10 weeks ago. But they always give us, we're kind of their little brother, unfortunately. And you're right. It's a game we have to win. Their offense has looked much more human. I have to think Joe Woods these last few games has been good at scouting of the opposition. So what all these other teams have done to slow down Lamar Jackson and that offense, we got to do the same. It's going to be a real big test for the linebackers, for the secondary. And I hate to, because the defense has played well, but I guess are we going to hope for rain and wind and snow in a terrible game? So I mean, I hate to say it like that, but it's definitely helped the defense. So that's going to be it's going to be a game where the defense has got to, it's going to have to keep down the electric plays. I think if you can keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket and keep him from, making those plays, and their offense struggles. So we pretty much have to win. That's a long way to say what you just said. It's a must-win game. It's a must-win game. That's it. It's a must-win game.
Okay. Giants on the road the week after that. Even if Ward is still out for that one, I don't think that should hurt.
Nope. That's one of those games where if you want to make the playoffs, you have to win. I know our buddy Chuck and the Cleveland Collective I basically echo what we said last week, where if you can't beat the Eagles and Jaguars, you don't deserve to make the playoffs. And Chuck said, well, if you beat other teams, then you do. Yes, I understand it's all about the record, but Eagles, Jaguars, both New York teams, if you want to make the playoffs, those are the games that have to go in the victory column. They just have to.
So Jets the week after on the road, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
they should be able to put the JV team out there and beat those guys, especially so then, okay. So here we are. Then we come up to the season finale. So even with all the injuries and everything going on, even if we're going to give, let's just say we're going to chalk up Titans and Ravens, I'm going to contradict myself. Those are losses. The Browns should, there's almost no, I don't want to say no excuse, no reason. They should be looking at 10-5 heading into the season finale. And the season finale against Pittsburgh at home is just going to be a toss-up, because right now you just never know, what's going to be going on. Who's going to be healthy? Who's going to be playing?
Right.
Pittsburgh already locked up the number 1 seed. They're going to be resting guys. They're not going to be resting guys because they want to go 16-0. Did you just lose your power?
I think just the light went out, but I'm
still
good. Yeah. I'm still good. Yeah. I think it was just the light went out in here. Sometimes it does. So that works.
Okay. So we started talking about the Steelers and all of a sudden everything went dark.
I feel like there's a demon. The Steelers are hated in this house always. So I'm not surprised.
All right. So, they're set up to be looking at 10-5 going into that last game of the season, and, everything should be on the line.
Yeah.
So kind of tying into that a little bit are, the playoff possibilities that the Browns are looking at. Right now they're currently number 6 in the AFC. They hold the tiebreaker with the Colts, who are tied with them at 7-3. Obviously the tiebreaker with the Titans is to be determined when they play on December 6th. Then there are 3 teams behind them that are all 6-4. Obviously, the Browns are going to lose the tiebreaker to the Raiders, so they have to stay ahead of them.
Yep.
They currently lose the tiebreaker to the Ravens, so
because of the better conference record, I believe. Yeah.
So right now the Ravens they beat
us once. Yeah.
Right. So if they get swept by them,
then that's
I'm going to go back and contradict myself again and go back to the game that was a must win. That it's okay if they don't win. You know what? They probably need to win that one because they did lose that first one. And the other team is, and go ahead.
Yeah, and another way I was thinking about this. What are the Chiefs? They have 2 losses, correct?
No, they've only lost to the Raiders.
The Raiders. Okay, so if the Chiefs, let's say the Steelers drop a few here, obviously, I would say Thursday night could have been that game. But if the Ravens seem like they have some COVID issues, but let's say the Steelers drop 2 or drop 1, and they're in a must-win game, and that I think we're kind of hanging our hat on, the Steelers are going to be, either playing for nothing or the number 1 seed locked up. We'll get to face Mason Rudolph. We could face a Steelers team that has to win to lock up that first round bye. So I hate to think that that's the game we're kind of hanging our hat on, that we can just, play our starters and abuse Mason Rudolph all day. So
Right.
I think that you're right. That Ravens game becomes a must win, even though we're contradicting ourselves. We said before, it's a game that we could lose. For tiebreaker purposes, it really isn't. You're on Monday night, you're in prime time. You haven't really looked great against the top teams in the NFL. So you're right. Got to win.
Yeah. The one thing with the Chiefs, they're going to Tampa next week, and they still have to go down to New Orleans on the 20th of December. If Breeze is back, those are 2 games, you're not going to, it's the Chiefs. You're not going to say, oh, they're going to lose, but those are tough games. And the Dolphin game, you never know on the 13th. So that's the one good thing, is because the Dolphins are the other team that is sitting at 6-4. And I don't know, but I'm pretty sure, I know coming into the weekend, the Browns were going to have lost the tiebreaker to the Dolphins. Now that might've changed a little bit, because the Dolphins did lose a conference game on Sunday against Denver. But for now, I'm going to say that there's still a possibility that if they ended up tied with, if they were tied with Miami right now, they would probably be losing the tiebreaker. So, having the Dolphins lose, that game to the Chiefs would be helpful, just to kind of keep all those guys pushing back,
right?
Pushing back. But, it all comes down to the Browns need to take care of business.
That's it. If we take care of our own business, the Titans game of all those seems the hardest to me, because the Ravens, if you ask me, week 1 looked damn near invincible. Of course, we played as bad as we could, but they've looked human these last few weeks, and are definitely, we can win that game. But the Titans just do everything. They'll be able to exploit our weaknesses, especially without Denzel Ward. Let's just hope that Myles Garrett's in there. But that's the toughest game. Again, the Steelers could be fighting for a bye come that last week. So they could. It's possible. Someone could knock them off. Shoot, I mean, that they went to Dallas and let the Cowboys, sans all their with what Garrett Gilbert's starting, or DiNucci, or whoever the heck they put in, hang around and have a chance on the last play of the game. So, it's any given Sunday. So, we just got to. You're right. There's 4 games, 3 games coming up that we have to win, and then we're gonna have to. I think the offense is really gonna have to show up, and it's been in Tennessee, Baltimore, and Pittsburgh. If we're going to win, we're going to have to do more than just hand it to Chubb and Hunt all game. We're going to have to see Baker Mayfield win that kind of a game against a top-tier opponent, which, let's be honest, we haven't seen in 2.5 years. So it might be a big ask, but it's what's going to have to happen, I think, in one of those games for us to pull it out. And God forbid we make the playoffs, obviously, then it's, this is when you say, are you our franchise quarterback? So.
And I know we're kind of getting we keep getting ahead of ourselves a little bit with the scheduling, but just kind of looking, the Raiders still have to play the Colts. They still got it, and they still play the Dolphins as well.
Right.
So, there are some of these teams that the Browns are going to be in the mix with that still have to play each other, and they're going to start beating each other.
Right.
Which should be helpful. Another Raider loss would be very, very beneficial. A couple of Raider losses would be really nice.
Yes, Patrick Mahomes did us a big favor on Sunday night. And as much as I think it's just the light bulb here because everything else is on, but the power's going to go out again. But
it's a little disconcerting. I'm looking at a black screen. It's a good thing that this is audio, not video.
Yeah.
We're having technical difficulties.
Yeah, but everything else is good. Now I know if everything's going to go out here. But I think we're going to have to root for the Steelers on Thursday night on Thanksgiving, because the Ravens are who we're going to be fighting for that wild card spot. So as much as it just pains me and I just got a sick feeling in my stomach, that I'm going to have to root for Pittsburgh on Thursday night. It's just how it's going to be, I think. It's because, that's, as far as seeding goes, that's what we have to do. So
right.
I hate them, but that's what we're going to have to do. So, yeah.
All right. And before we wrap up here, there's a couple of late breaking nuggets here. Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, the Jaguars' entire defensive coaching staff is out of the building today because of COVID-19 protocols.
Wow.
Contact tracing underway. Not yet clear how it may impact who's available for practice in Sunday's game against the Browns. So the entire coaching staff might be coaching from home on the defensive side of the ball. So we're going to bet the over on that one.
Yes.
And then from Mary Kay at the Plain Dealer, the Browns placed defensive end Joe Jackson on the reserve COVID-19 list, and he will sit out the Jaguars game on Sunday. He was an inactive this past Sunday, so I'm not sure that has quite the impact that we would, that obviously another player may have if they lose, but hopefully that he doesn't ripple into, because that's the hard thing.
Yep.
You see these guys go out and the first thought is,
who were they in a
about
meeting
it last week.
Yep.
Yeah. What do we do with so all of a sudden now, Joe Jackson going out's not a big deal, but if Joe Jackson, dominoes into two other guys and all of a sudden it's like, oh crud, we're going to be running
you're losing Claiborne or Vernon,
the 2-2-7 defense out there.
It's, I mean, like, obviously, we want this pod and sports to be a distraction from COVID-19, but I mean, we're having a big spike all across the country, and it's going to affect these last 6 weeks of the season, because it's, that's how it's going. And I mean, the teams I know they have, when they say they're having intense protocols now, but it's obviously, these players are getting, they have families, they have that are going to school or going. So it's the best we can do to follow these protocols, and every team's playing with the same circumstance. And I'm glad we have a coaching staff that we can trust for once to to guide us through it.
And it would probably be a last, like a last resort type of thing. But I know that they probably don't want to do it. But the league has talked all year long about having all kinds of contingency plans in place, where we'll add on an extra week to the season. We'll do this. We'll do that. And I'm sure a shutdown is the absolute last thing they want to do. But if it reached the point where it was bad enough, and just shutting down for 2 full weeks, and just to let everybody get cleared and really you put everybody on lockdown, then you could finish out the season without any trouble. Right. I would not be totally opposed to that. A lot of that is selfish reasons, because one, we want to see this season get completed. The Browns are doing well.
Yes. With
the guys that are injured, extra 2 weeks without games, it's like, hey, all of a sudden it's like, oh, look who's healthy. None of that would be true of everybody. Right. But that's not, that's probably like a doom. Well, I guess the doomsday would be just canceling the rest of the season.
I don't
not finishing it, but having a pause is at some point the last 2 weeks of December, the last week of December, first week of January, letting that 14-day cycle run through where everybody is now clean and almost starting over with a clean slate might not be the worst thing in the world. And who knows, it may be on the horizon more than we want to admit.
It might be the way things are going. And I've said this before, right before the season, but they will have guys like Johnny Manziel play, and they will scour the streets for players. They will do that, and they will do that before they cancel the whole season. There's just no way they're going to cancel the season, in my opinion. I think the pause is a much more realistic idea that I think they want to avoid, but they might not have a choice. And what's the difference if they finish the season late February, early March? Or maybe that, which they never do. They should have the NFL. They should have the Super Bowl on the day before President's Day, because some of us have the day off. So
push it back.
Right, push it back. Yeah, I always have a meeting for work that's on that first Monday, and it's a shame, because if the Browns are ever played the Super Bowl one day, I will absolutely need that Monday off. So hopefully let's hope that they move the. If our new president-elect wants to gain some favor with folks, he could. I don't know if I know he has no business. He could call up Roger Goodell or figure it out how to move the Super Bowl Sunday before President's Day. But yeah, anyways, get on a tangent there. It wouldn't be the end of the world to pause for a couple weeks and finish, late February, early March. I don't.
Plus, if you had a 2 week, little 2 week break there, that. The home finale against the Steelers would be on January 17th, so everybody can complain about the weather and how we have to build a dome for 8 home football games a year.
Yeah, I am on the, as much as I hate when I'm staying out there in in late December, it's cold, but I think dome football is for whips. Obviously some players, Drew Brees, love the guy, but get him outside in the weather, and he is a much different football player. So I think real football is played in the weather, in my opinion. So I think we both agree on the anti-dome stance there.
So, all right. I think Josh is fading off into the abyss there. So I think we will wrap this one up. Thank you to everyone for listening. Please like, share, and comment to help us grow the Cleveland Sports Collective podcast. I'm Tom. He's Josh. Everyone have a nice Thanksgiving. And until next time, go Browns.
Happy Thanksgiving. Go Browns.